Muy buenos días, clase. Esto es la primera parte del capítulo 14. Okay, so yeah, this is the first part of chapter 14, the video introduction. Cómo vivimos los cambios sociales, how we live social changes, the literal translation there. So talking about issues that are complex and hard to discuss really in any language. There's no easy answers a lot of times to these types of questions raised in this chapter, but this is what we're getting to, getting to the end of the third semester, end of the textbook, and we do have, we start to try to use vocabulary to talk about more complex things. In the first few chapters, it's things like greetings, family, colors, basic things, and as we go along, it gets more complicated, the topics. So anyway, this is our theme for the chapter, los cambios sociales, social changes, changes in society, the role of the woman, and youth and immigration. Well, those are the three that they've highlighted there, but there's other ones raised as well. And then migration within the Spanish-speaking world. In other words, not just Spanish-speaking people coming to this country, but migration within the Spanish-speaking world. And then as our grammar, we have adverbial conjunctions or subjunctive and adverbial clauses, contrasting subjunctive and indicative with adverbial clauses, which these 2 points we'll tackle this week. And then the next part is the past perfect and the infinitive as a subject or object. This is our grammar. Okay. Chile is our country of profile. There, as we all know, it's the long, skinny country in South America. Chile, one of the strongest economies in Latin America, actually. Probably the strongest economy in Latin America. And being a long, skinny country, it's got quite a bit of geographic diversity from the desert in the north to the Antarctic regions in the south that are cold and snowy and whatnot. So there's quite a bit of geographic diversity within Chile. This is the president of Chile. Actually, I don't know if she's still the president, but she was. Michelle Bachelet, yeah, one of the many female presidents in Latin America. Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner is the president of Argentina, although she's no longer president. They just elected someone new. But both Argentina and Chile have had female presidents, as well as, I believe, Nicaragua in the 80s had a female president. And I think Brazil as well, possibly. But it's a little more common down there than, as we know, in this country, we haven't had a female president yet. Evo Morales, president of Bolivia, an indigenous, first indigenous president, actually speaks the indigenous languages, a couple of them, as well as Spanish, of course. And then they give us more data on those social issues we were referring to earlier. More cultural readings and things related to the theme of the chapter. The role of the woman, literally, el papel de la mujer, papel means paper, also means role, so this is the role of the woman in Latin America, and different examples about that topic, which I think you had an assignment about. And then again, youth and immigration, as we alluded to earlier. More data and things to discuss, integrating this vocabulary that you need to talk about these issues. And then our reading as always. And then we get into our first piece of grammar here. So adverbial conjunctions that require the subjunctive. This is yet another use of the subjunctive. And as I've recommended before, keep these different uses of the subjunctive in their own boxes. Don't start to confuse this use of subjunctive with another one that we've seen, because they do have different, there are different things required, different things that cause and trigger the subjunctive among the different uses. So adverbial conjunctions that require the subjunctive is what they're calling this. It's also the subjunctive and adverbial clauses is another way we call this particular use. And all the ones you see here, a menos que, antes de que, con tal de que, para que, and sin que, are all going to require subjunctive However, if the que is not present, for example, if it's just antes de, if it's just para, if it's just sin, in other words, if there's no que present, then you will just use an infinitive. So you'll see through examples what I'm talking about. But as they're presented here, all of these will require a subjunctive verb in the second part of the clause. So, las mujeres tendrán una reunión antes de que sus representantes hablen con los oficiales. So, women, well, here's the translation. I won't read these to you. But as you can see, all of these do require the subjunctive. And as always, you will have plenty of opportunities to practice. Okay, and then a second use, although related, conjunctions that take subjunctive or the indicative depending on the context. So here we have again aunque, cuando, después de que, donde, en cuanto, hasta que, mientras, según, en tan pronto como. So when it deals with time, these conjunctions, if they refer to the future, they refer to something that has not happened yet, you will need subjunctive. If they refer to something which is habitual or the past, then you will not use subjunctive. And there's some examples here. Va a luchar hasta que la comunidad ofrezca clases gratis para los inmigrantes nuevos. This clearly refers to the future, is going to, as we know. Va a is a possessive verb, is always referring to the future. So because you have this hasta que, and it refers to the future, you need the subjunctive. And it's because the thing may or may not happen. That's the logic behind it. If you think back to our other uses of subjunctive, that will make sense, right? When you say, quiero que los estudiantes lleguen a tiempo. I want the students to arrive on time. Well, they may or may not, and that's why you would have subjunctive in that particular example. Here, it's the same thing. It's referring to the future, so what you're talking about may or may not happen, and that's also why subjunctive is needed there. Nos reuniremos después de que comiencen las clases. We will meet after classes start. Again, this is the future form, and we'll meet after the classes start. Well, that hasn't happened yet, and that's why you have subjunctive over here. Me llamará tan pronto reciba la aprobación del alcalde. Tan pronto or tan pronto como, either one, they both mean as soon as. And again, just the nature of as soon as, it indicates that something is pending, that something may or may not happen. And that is sort of the spirit of the subjunctive. Okay. But if you were using tan pronto como in a habitual sense, you wouldn't use the subjunctive. So for example, every day, as soon as I arrive home, I make dinner. And that's not referring to the future. That's referring to a habitual daily thing. And in that case, you would not use subjunctive with tan pronto como. Only when it refers to a future event, as it does in this case. So that is the theory there. And here we have some examples of that. Nos reunimos después de que comenzaron las clases. Comenzaron is not subjunctive, it's indicative. It's actually the preterite, but it's indicative. And we met after classes started. So here we have después de que, which when it refers to the future, you use subjunctive in the second part. And when it doesn't refer to the future, you use indicative, either present or preterite, but some form of the indicative. Same thing here. Me llamó tan pronto recibió la aprobación del alcalde. She called me as soon as she received approval from the mayor. This is obviously refers to the past. And so because it doesn't refer to the future, you do not use a subjunctive here after tan pronto. That is the sort of the theory behind it. And here, of course, they give you more examples, more explanations. And I think if you read through these, you will start to get the sense, the spirit of this usage of the subjunctive. I'm also putting 2 videos, maybe 3, but at least 2 in the folder to help you, to give you additional examples, additional explanations, and help you with that. Okay, and that will conclude then this first part. The rest of the chapter we will see in the next video. Hasta pronto.